If you want to know which thriller books not to read, this video is for you. Welcome or welcome back to Francesca's Books, and my name is of course Francesca. These are of course my books, and here we talk about all things thriller books. And today is Bookmas Day 2, where I'm running you through everything I read in November and my December TBR. Do not be fooled by my jolly mood, friends. November was the worst reading month I have had all year. The entirety of 2025, it was shocking, honestly. So firstly, I only read 5 books. Who knows what happened? Who knows? Not me. I think I finally just hit the dreaded reading slump of the whole year. Every month this year I've read 8 or 9 books or more, and I just couldn't find what I was really into this month. I do have one 5-star book, but it was the very start of November, and after that I just slumped like hell. Also, do you like my Christmas cup? This was the only Christmas mug I could find in my cupboard, which is quite shocking. Means I maybe have to go and buy more. This is from the Manchester Christmas Market 2024, apparently. You can like take them home, so I did. So after I've told you about my attempt in November to read some good books this month, I'm going to tell you about my December TBR, which I am very, very excited for, because it's the one time of year where the locked rooms, snowed in, cabin vibes are just going to hit differently. And hopefully my workload will be slightly less over the Christmas period itself, so I feel like I'll be able to get a little bit more reading done and hopefully still end the year on a high. So the first book I read, loved, and gave 5 stars to is So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. Now, this author is probably my standout of 2025, aside from Charlie Donnelly, but for being a little bit different. So if you don't know Rachel Harrison, she's technically a horror author, okay? She's not through and through thriller, and I think that's why I've gravitated towards something maybe slightly different, because there's only so many formulaic psychological and domestic thrillers I can read without just knowing from page 1 what's going to happen. So in this, we're following 2 women who go away for Sloane's birthday, and Naomi is her kind of like bad influence friend slash you need to be more free-spirited friend. So they go on this weekend away, and yeah, they get into trouble. So at its core, this is a vampire story, okay? And I just loved it. This was all the sisterhood vibes, found family vibes. It had somewhat of a thriller plot, like an action style plot as well. But more than that, this was just all about the characters. I also read Play Nice by Rachel Harrison recently and also gave that 5 stars. So I think there's something really special that this author does. And if you have a similar reading taste to me, you will love it. But I do have to caveat, it's not a through and through thriller. So then I read another Shari Penna book, which is A Stranger in the House. I recounted, and this is the penultimate book of hers I have to read. I still have to read the end of her. I don't know how I thought I was so close to finishing her backlist when I still had 2 or 3 left. But anyway, as soon as I finish the end of her, then that will be when the backlist ranking video will come. But for now, A Stranger in Her House. I read it during a 24-hour reading vlog, which you guys will see very, very soon, so you can get my like in-depth thoughts then. However, I think Shari Penna's books are just becoming too samey for me. They all follow a very similar pattern. This also had a very, very small character pool as well. So in this, we're following Karen, who is married to Tom, and one day Tom gets a call saying Karen is in the hospital. And it turns out she was driving in a really dodgy part of the neighborhood. She didn't let him know where she was going. It was all very suspicious, and she'd ended up crashing her car for speeding. Now, this leans very much into the amnesia trope, so Karen can't remember anything. Classic psychological thriller. We also then have another point of view of Bridget, which is Karen's friend. Now, they are our 3 characters, effectively. There's also a detective character as well who's trying to work out what's happened, but pretty much that is our entire character pool, so it was very, very easy to follow, but also then it just didn't leave a lot of room for anything else to happen in the story. I ended up giving it 3 stars. There was nothing inherently bad about it, but there was also nothing inherently wow about it either. So if you are going to read a Shari Penna, I probably wouldn't start with this one. Then I also read The Guest List by Lucy Foley as part of the 24-hour reading vlog as well, so you guys can get my full thoughts on that very shortly. But I will say this is definitely best consumed in one sitting. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. I think if you want a murder mystery, you will really like this. For me, I think it didn't ear into the thriller genre enough. It very much was mystery, which I know a lot of people do prefer to read at this time of year, especially with like the snowy vibes. It was very locked room. So we're following 5 points of view: the bride, the plus one, the best man, the wedding planner, and the bridesmaid at, you guessed it, a wedding. I will say you do get a lot of depth to these characters, which is more than most thrillers. So maybe this author's just leaned into that side of it, be more of a character focus. I don't know, but my favorite was definitely the bridesmaid, who was the bride's half-sister or stepsister. No, half-sister, I think. But she was a bit younger than the other characters, so had a little bit of a different perspective, and I really enjoyed it. I think she was like late teens, but her point of view was just the most interesting to me. So overall, I did like it. I gave it a 3.5. I think it's a solid classic murder mystery style, and if you like that, you will really like this book. Then I read All Eyes on Him by Ileana Zander, which came out on the 20th of November in the UK and the 2nd of December in the US, I believe. So either way, it'll be out by the time you guys watch this. And this is by the same author as Love Mum, which you guys saw I absolutely loved. I gave that one 5 stars. I think it was really original. It was really easy to read. I very much enjoyed the plot twist. So I had very high expectations for this, and I think that may be why it fell slightly flat, because my expectations were very high. In this, we're following Natalie, whose best friend Cara is in a coma, and she thinks this really wealthy guy, the man of the year, is the person that put her there. So she decides to investigate, take things into her own hands, and infiltrate this guy's life to see what really happened. She's unsure whether her friend's even going to make it at this point. She is in an unresponsive coma, so there's a lot of emotional charge behind her actions. So she basically decides the best course of action is to become a housekeeper at his house, and the way she does this, you really have to suspend belief quite a lot to even get there in the first place. But then the majority of the book is set at this guy's house, which I think is interesting and not what I expected. Not really a spoiler, just an interesting location, I guess, because it felt like rich people drama, but it also felt like domestic thriller at the same time. It wasn't classic rich people drama in the sense of husbands and wives being catty and who's like with who and whose money's whose and blah blah blah. It was more of a direct plot from our female main character. There was also some chapters from an anonymous point of view as well, who you really think you know who this person is, and then of course it is not, because it's a thriller book. So I ended up giving this 4 stars. Maybe like 3.75, 4. I think it was really good. I think it was really easy to read, but it was just nothing, I don't think, new for me or really in this genre. I was just honestly having such a month. Like, I'm really not even surprised that I've slumped after telling you guys about these books. But the last book that I did just finish, which hopefully is going to have brought me out of my slump, is It's Not Her by Mary Kubica, and I ended up giving this 4.5. This one isn't due out until February 2026, but you guys, get ready, it's going to be a good one. Because of the slump and like my mood towards reading, I probably didn't give this book enough justice at the time. I think if I'd have been on like a really snowballing good set of reads, I may have given it 5 stars, but for the meantime we're sticking with a 4.5. We are following a woman whose brother and sister-in-law are unalived on a cabin vacation. The niece is missing, the nephew is acting sus, and the even younger niece was playing with her own daughter. So there is quite a few characters, but we are also getting this point of view from the niece who is missing, which I think was really interesting. I think if we didn't have that in the slightly past tense, like before all these events happened, I think I would have struggled to connect with the present day characters as much. I'm just really glad this author took a like dual point of view approach. This also very much dove into the action on page 1. You do not have to worry about that whatsoever. I do think it was quite a good book to read in winter. It felt very like cabin vibes and quite locked room-esque as well. I've also vlogged myself reading this as part of a winter reading vlog because I just knew you guys were going to want like my in-depth thoughts, not just my summary, so that will also be coming very, very soon. But I think this is definitely one you need on your radar for 2026. So we had 2 or 3 stars, a 4.5 and a 5 star, so maybe it wasn't that bad overall, but I just felt so slumpy this month, so fingers crossed my December TBR that I'm about to tell you pulls me out of that. And if you also have any recent 5-star books that you've read and you think I will like based on my reading taste and what I tell you guys I like, then I would be very, very grateful if you could drop a comment and let me know. And as always, if you are enjoying these videos and want to see more Bookmas thriller goodness, then don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more. So the first book I'm going to read in December, which I have already started, is The Overnight Guest, and this has been very, very highly recommended to me. I think it's a staple of like the winter TBR that people tend to recommend, so it's quite shocking that I have not read it yet. And in this we're following a woman who is a true crime writer, and she goes to this remote cabin to get some of her writing done. Of course she does. And then she sees this child outside who is like pretty much frozen to death, and she's like, why is there a child outside my house? So she's trying to work out what has happened. Now there's also another point of view which was not on the synopsis, so I won't give anything away, but a very different point of view that has taken me a good 100 pages to click, like what even is going on. I think this will be a very rewarding book, but I also, going in, was a bit like, So of course you'll get my full thoughts in my December wrapped, but it seems like one that you have to just stick with. Either way, the vibes are very snowy, the cabin is very remote, it is everything really that you could want in like a wintry, cold outside Saturday night read. And then the next book I'm going to read, which I think is my most highly anticipated of December, is You Better Watch Out by James Murray and Darren Wearmouth. And this technically is a novella. I think it's like 200 pages, 220 pages, so on the border, but I really like this cover. I really like this concept, and Christmas thrillers are so hard to get right, so I don't know, I just have a good feeling about this one. Maybe it's because it's hardback, maybe because it looks like a US cover, I don't know, but either way I feel good about it. So it's set 48 hours before Christmas, and our female main character Jessica wakes up in agony, in pain, with other strangers who have also pretty much been kidnapped. She has no idea how they got there, she has no idea what's even happened, she literally just has no memory at all, but then when the other strangers start going missing one by one, she's like, they are definitely being. So, sounds like high stakes. Then I'm also going to read The Writing Retreat by Julia Barnes, because this feels like winter thriller, not Christmas thriller, and of course it's set amongst a set of authors, so like, what more could you want as a thriller girl? We're following our main character, who is an aspiring author, and she's pretty much giving up on her dreams when she gets invited onto a writing retreat. But when she gets there is somebody who she used to be like a rival to in the publishing world, I don't know. So she's not feeling confident, and then it gets worse. They're like, you have to write and publish a book within a month. Like, that's it, you have to. And then 3 for 3, that's when it gets even worse and people start going missing in the snow. I haven't read anything by this author before, and this isn't really a new publication. I think it came out a couple of years ago, but it's just one that I thought that is going to fit really nicely into my December reading plans. So if you have read this one, let me know, because I am not sure on my thoughts. It sounds like a really good thriller, but I think when you haven't read anything else by the same author, you just don't really have anything to go off. Then I'm going to read a couple of Freida McFadden books in December. The first one being a Christmassy one, which is The Gift. This is so short. We're talking like I could literally fit this through the cracks in my house. Like 50 pages or something, so I'm gonna read it probably in one go and let you guys know what I think, but it feels like an obvious book to just pick up. I say book, I don't know if you can call it a book, it feels more like a leaflet. It basically follows this wife who can't afford to get her husband a Christmas present, and then goes to this shop and gets offered something, I don't think supernatural, but I think like a trade of something. Dark, probably. It's Freida McFadden. I feel like if I know anything more than that, it's probably not worth reading, so I'm not going to read any more into it. But then the other Freida McFadden book I'm going to read is Dear Debbie, which comes out in January. This is her next book, so of course I'm going to read it ahead of time to let you guys know whether it is worth reading or not. And this one does sound kind of different to the other books she's been publishing recently. In it, we're following our female main character, Debbie, as you could probably guess. I don't know why I've hesitated. Like it was going to be some dramatic reveal. And she has a column where she helps women who write into like the Dear Debbie column about their husbands, about blah, 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 blah. And one day when things start to go wrong in her own life, she's like, I'm going to start taking my own advice. I imagine it's kind of murderous. So hopefully this one is giving something a little bit different, but either way, I will keep you guys up to date. This comes out on the 27th of January 2026 in the UK and US at the same day. I'm also going to read The Winter Visitor by BP Walter, and I feel like this is not a very well-known author at all, and to be honest, I don't know if I've ever even read any of his books, but the concept of this sounded really good and like very Christmassy, very wintry, and as I've mentioned about a million times, Christmas thriller books are so hard to come by. So we've got a grandma who invites 3 brothers back to their like mansion, and they're thinking, it's an inheritance job, what are we gonna get? But then the family drama kicks off, and that is not why she's invited them there, and then with that someone is unalived. So this is set over the few days of Christmas as well, which I really like, so perhaps I will read this over Christmas itself, who knows? There's nothing like a mood read when you're just sat with your brother and his girlfriend on Christmas Day, and everything's nice in real life, but the vibes ain't nice in your book. Then I'm also going to read The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. This is the last book of hers that I have to read, and it's set over Christmas, so it feels like a now or never situation. She only has 4 books published, so I can't really do a ranking video because it doesn't seem like enough to like sink my teeth into. But when she releases another couple, I will definitely let you guys know. If you are interested, The Paris Apartment was my favourite. Didn't love Midnight Feast, and then Guest List sits in the middle, so after The Hunting Party then I'll let you know where that one sits when I read it. But we're following a group of friends who meet up kind of annually. They went to Oxford, it's all very like prim and proper, and then they go to this very idyllic little island in the Scottish Highlands and spend New Year's together, and that is when somebody is unalived. This very much feels like another murder mystery like The Guest List. I think it's going to be very locked room, who's done it, not really too high of a stake. So I'll probably pick this one up when I'm feeling like something a little little bit lighter to read, but I am very excited, especially since it's set over the Christmas period itself. And then the final book I'm going to read in December, because I really don't want to overload myself, this is number 8 on my TBR, is Holiday Ever After by Hannah Grace, and this is indeed a romance, but I've got to sneak one in there somewhere, and I've already read The Gingerbread Bakery back in September when it came out, so I thought I did like Icebreaker, so I'm going to try Holiday Ever After this year. So this follows a very career-focused female main character called Clara, who has to go and solve a PR crisis in a small town that have a problem with the Christmas toys workshop. As a thriller girl, like, I read the romance synopsis and I'm like, there's just no stakes in this whatsoever, like 0. Anyway, the male main character does not want her to solve this PR crisis, so I wonder what will happen. They will end up solving it together, I assume. But I really like this author's writing. She's actually from Manchester in the UK as well, despite writing books set in the US, which I kind of like, because girl would have had to have done a lot of research for this. And I do think this will just be something really nice and light to read in amongst my thrillers, so I am actually really excited to give it a go. So that's my November wrapped and December TBR. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If there's anything immediately that needs to be added to my December TBR that I've not read, please do let me know, because I can't afford to slump again. I'm gonna be crying if I have another bad reading month. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for day 3 of Bookmas.